time for another review. Oh, God damn it, I'm still stuck in the 4:3 aspect ratio. Huh. Looks like everything's back to normal now. Hello everyone, it is your host, Reviews Kingdom, back for yet another video. And well, I want to start this video off by saying that it's really nice to be back in the 16:9 aspect ratio. You know, you truly don't know what you have until it's gone, and in this case, I truly miss being in a widescreen aspect ratio. But anyways, that's besides the point, all random shit aside. The point of this video is, well, it's a pretty big year for Green Day, isn't it? So, yeah, Green Day is certainly big this year in 2024. They recently just dropped a new album called Saviors. Their breakout hit Dookie just turned 30 years old yesterday. And in September, their second breakout hit, American Idiot, turns 20 years old. And along with the new year came some very short-lived controversy. Yeah, for those of you not in the know about all things Green Day, they recently got into some hot water at the beginning of the year with their performance at the New Year's Rockin' Eve. Really what this controversy boils down to is Green Day changing a certain lyric in American Idiot. The lyric in question is, "I'm not a part of a redneck agenda," but in the live show, they said, "I'm not a part of the MAGA agenda." This caused people, mainly Fox News, to get pissed off, including Elon Musk, which really solidifies how stupid and pointless this drama really is. They've been doing this for years now, and people are now just catching on to it. It just boils down to people not agreeing with Green Day's politics, which, you know, is always funny to see considering Green Day has been political for years, but I digress. But anyways, all petty politics aside, I'm here to be reviewing Green Day's breakout record, Dookie, which released 30 years ago in 1994. As a matter of fact, it just turned 30 yesterday, so, you know, we have a pretty big record in our hands here, don't we? And, well, before I start this review, I just want to say that this year we will have a lot of Green Day content on this channel. As I mentioned before, this record turned 30 yesterday. They came out with a new album recently, and American Idiot turns 20 in September, so, you know, there's going to be a lot of Green Day content on the channel here in 2024, so stay tuned for all that. But as for right now, we're going to be taking a look at their breakout hit, Dookie. So, without further ado, let's get into the album. Green Day is a band that really needs no introduction. They are probably one of the biggest names in rock and in the pop-punk scene as well. But it wasn't always this way. You see, Green Day originated in 1987 and consisted of 3 members, Billy Joe Armstrong as vocalist and guitarist, Mike Dirnt as bassist and secondary vocalist, and John Kiffmeyer on the drums respectively. They created several EPs around this time and played in a local club called the Gilman Street Club. It wouldn't be around 1990 where Green Day released their first album, 39 Smooth, which would later be re-released as 1039 Smooth Out Slappy Hours, which released a year later on Lookout Records. Then, a year later, the band would see a change in the lineup, replacing John Kiffmeyer on the drummers with drummer Trey Cool on their second album, Kerplunk. The albums would see some success in their local area as many people went to the club to hear their fast and aggressive songs. However, in 1994, they would go from being small-town successes to full-on rock stars, as in 1994, Reprise Records offered them a record label, and in terms, we got one of the biggest albums of that year, Dookie. Dookie was huge in the 90s, dominating the charts and having constant radio play along with endless rotations on MTV. Basket Case, Longview, When I Come Around, Welcome to Paradise. These songs were on heavy rotation wherever you went. Now, something you must know is that this fame came at the price of their small town labeling them as sellouts and eventually getting them kicked out from the Gilman Club. But it didn't matter. This album was huge and it was only just the beginning for Green Day. Dookie received critical and commercial fame, receiving a Grammy Award in 1995 for Best Alternative Album, and the band earned it. And now, as we approach on its 30th anniversary this year, it's time to find out if this explosive punk album still stands the test of time, or if it's best kept in the 90s. Let's take a look at Dookie. Jumping into the album, the first thing you'll notice is the production of the album. The first two albums didn't have the greatest production in the world, and to be fair, the band were working with what they were given, and those albums are still very good in their own right, don't get me wrong, but the production in Dookie has significantly upgraded as they were signed to a big record label, and it's vastly superior as they have more to work with. Everything just comes across as better in this album. The mixing is clean yet aggressive, and the instruments and vocals are both mixed very well as well. Not to mention, the sound of this album is much more faster paced and angrier, driving home the punk spirit. This is an album that wastes no time either. Once it starts with a huge explosive opening with the track Burnout, and it just goes by at an exhilarating pace. It's really hard not to love the energy Green Day brings to the table. It's the kind of album where it needs to be listened to at loud volumes in order to get the full experience. It might come at the cost of your eardrums, but hey, it's totally worth it. Not to mention, this album is catchy as hell. The guitar riffs are very simple, yet very memorable and catchy. Every single hook and melodies, even on the least enjoyable songs, have really big staying power to them. Billy does a great job at providing catchy and aggressive as hell vocal melodies that make you want to sing along with whatever he's singing about, especially with tracks like Basket Case, Welcome to Paradise, or When I Come Around, just to name a few. He brings an energy and life to the album that defines the sound of this album and the pop-punk genre as a whole. It seriously cannot be understated how great Billy is in this album with his guitar riffs and hooks and his energetic vocal performance. But he's not the only driving force of this album, I assure you. The other driving force to this album is Trey Cool as the drummer and Mike Dirnt as the bassist. Technically, that's two driving forces, but regardless of that, it cannot be understated how much energy these guys bring to the table. Firstly, let's start off with Trey Cool. In Kerplunk, Trey showed that he definitely had some talent, but in some way, it almost felt like he was restrained in his work on Kerplunk. But here on Dookie, he is on a whole new level. Scratch that, a whole new universe. If you need any further proof of this, I'll play you a small sample of the track with his drum solo from Burnout, and I'll let you go on from there. So yeah, as you can see, this guy is an absolute beast on the drums, and it's not just Burnout. There are many more songs like this where you just get pumped up or riled up because of his drum solos. He's quick, he's crazy, and he's very energetic on the drums in this album. It's just exactly what this album needs in order to get you pumped up. There isn't a single dull moment with Trey Cool in this album in my opinion. But, once again, he's only one part of this pumpkin pie, as alongside Billy and Trey, we got Mike Dirnt, a man of many different talents. Mike's bass work on this album works extremely well with the frantic and chaotic nature of this album perfectly. Because of him, he makes these songs have weight and staying power to these songs. Sure, the songs come by just like that and are very short, but he gives these songs musical depth and weight to them. His bass work is very bouncy and playful in this album, and it balances out all the screaming and frantic energy that this album gives. For instance, let's take a look at the song Longview, which, fun fact about the song, according to Mike Dirnt and the rest of the band, Mike did his bass line when he was high on LSD. So one of the catchiest bass lines was created via getting high. Well, I guess it's true what they say about musicians making the best music while high as a kite. But anyways, getting back on track, the bass line fits the track extremely well as it sets the tone of the song with the feeling of boredom and isolation that the song presents. It's very calm, subdued, and laid back, and it just complements the track super well. Another standout track in my opinion is Chump. Where he really shines is towards the end of the track, where the song is building up to this big crash into Longview, and the bass creates the big tension and sense of frustration that's been built up by the lyrics, and in the end, the band comes together to demonstrate this huge vat of anger and confusion boiling over. It works so fucking well, like holy shit, this album slaps. But, as we all know, the musicianship of the album isn't the only thing that brings an album together, it's also the lyrics. Well, at least that's how I see it. But anyways, how are the lyrics? Now, something to know about Green Day is that while, yes, they were extremely popular and renowned at the time, they also had a few critics. And no, I'm not talking about the people complaining that Green Day is not true punk, because I'm not going to entertain that idea. No, what I'm talking about is how some critics complained that Green Day were just a bunch of whiny brats singing about getting high and jerking off until the sun goes down. And, well, I just don't see that in Dookie at all. Like, yeah, Longview is literally about getting high and jerking off until the sun goes down, but I feel like Green Day do have range on this album. There are many different topics on this album, such as heartbreak, frustration, boredom, growing up and getting burnout, or coming to terms with oneself. I'm not going to pretend it's deep or philosophical because, well, it's simply not told in this manner, but this album hits well in all the right spots in my opinion. Burnout sets the stage for the album right off the bat by talking about how the listener feels like he's just getting burned out as opposed to growing up, and how they're one step closer to their eventual death. It's a very real feeling, and it's sung and performed as it should be. These themes are becoming more jaded or exasperated and intimate sleepless, as Billy laments on a friend that he used to know, and how he changed and how he's not the same person he once knew. Whether for bad or worse is up for the audience's interpretation. But one song that stands out from the rest, in my opinion, is the song Coming Clean. So this song is about Billy Joe Armstrong coming about his bisexuality and how he's coming clean for the first time. And well, if you couldn't tell, that's my favorite song off the album, so there's that. Now, the song sounds simple, sure, but damn is it powerful, and it really sticks with you after you listen to it multiple times. What makes it so special and important is that this was done at a time where speaking out about this kind of stuff was practically unheard of. It is such a powerful track that speaks many words to me and many others who have listened to it. Even if you haven't listened to Dookie as an album, I highly recommend checking out this track as it's great, and I feel like I can't do it any justice by explaining it, so go listen to it for yourself after the video is over. So, yeah, while the album's writing can come off as juvenile at times, it's still cleverly written and the lyrics are just as rage-filled and impactful as they should be in this album. However, if there's one thing that I can fault this album for, is how it all blends together. I really do like this album, don't get me wrong, but at times the songs kind of feel like they just kind of blend together, and it feels as if the album works better if you listen to it on a shuffle playlist. The songs still rock, don't get me wrong, but as an album, it just kinda sounds the same at some points. It's really hard to explain. I really do like the songs, but when you listen to them all together on the album, it kind of sounds the same after a while. Now, the songwriting does help kind of distinct the sound of this album just a little bit, but at the same time, I'm conflicted about that. But as far as negatives go, that's all I have to say on that front. We still got a killer album in the end of the day, and well, that's nothing to complain about. So, yeah. That's nice. So what do I think of Dookie? And well, to conclude this review, it's really not hard to see why this album is so impactful and why it kicks so much ass. Seriously, this album was huge in the 90s. I wasn't born in the 90s, but I'm just going off by chart numbers. But anyways, this album was huge back in the 90s. It was inescapable. Basket Case, Longview, Welcome to Paradise, When I Come Around. Any song it was playing on the radio, it was inescapable. And not only that, this album went on to inspire many different bands like Blink-182, Sum 41, Newfound Glory, just to name a few. It's really not hard to see why this album is as great as it is. Although it is a little samey sounding in some points, the riffs are infectious, the choruses are catchy. Billy has such an aggressive voice that fits well for this entire album. Everything just comes together so greatly in this album. It's really not hard to see why this album is one of the greats in terms of the pop-punk genre. So, my final rating for this album would be a solid 8 out of 10. I feel like this album could have maybe diversified its sound just a little bit more just to kind of keep the entire thing feeling fresh. But this album is like 36 minutes anyway, so it's not like it's exactly a long record to listen to. But still, I kind of wish they would have diversified the sound a little bit, because regardless of that, if you just listen to any of these songs, like not in an album order, they just kick ass. Some of them are, well, some of them kind of left the album, but you know what? This album is great, and it's not hard to see why this album is as impactful as it is, and I'm glad that this record is turning 30, as I get to celebrate its 30th anniversary, even if I wasn't alive when it came out. But regardless of that, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.